My husband started complaining about needing space to breathe. I found out he was taking secret vacations with a woman he met at the gym. When I asked him, he said, "You're just being dramatic." A year later, he was the one crying about losing what mattered most. My husband, Mark, 45 male, and I had been married for 17 years. We met in college, built a life together, and raised 2 wonderful kids. Life was busy but good. Mark started going to the gym regularly about 2 years ago. He said it was to manage stress and stay healthy. I was supportive. I even encouraged him. But then, things started to change. He became distant, irritable, and often claimed he needed space to breathe. He'd go on weekend trips, saying they were for work or to clear his head. I trusted him. Why wouldn't I? One day, Mark accidentally sent me a screenshot of an Amazon order meant for our kids. At the bottom of the screenshot was a delivery address I didn't recognize. Curious, I looked it up. It was a hotel in San Antonio. My heart sank. I started digging. I checked his email, his messages, and his social media. What I found shattered me. He had been taking secret vacations with a woman named Rachel, someone he met at the gym. There were photos of them together, bookings for couples massages, and even matching bathrobes. I confronted Mark. He looked me in the eye and said, "You're just being dramatic." He denied everything, claimed Rachel was just a friend, and that I was overreacting. But the evidence was undeniable. I felt like a fool. 17 years of marriage, and this is what it came to. I decided to take some time for myself. I went to stay with my sister in Dallas, trying to process everything. During my time away, Mark continued his affair. He didn't even try to hide it anymore. Our kids were confused and hurt. I decided to file for divorce. It was the hardest decision of my life, but I knew I deserved better. A year later, Mark reached out to me. Rachel had left him. He was alone and regretted everything. He said he missed our family and wanted to make things right. But it was too late. The damage was done. I'm now focusing on rebuilding my life. I'm in therapy, spending quality time with my kids, and rediscovering who I am. It's not easy, but I'm getting there. To anyone going through something similar, know that you're not alone. Trust your instincts, and don't let anyone gaslight you into doubting yourself. You deserve honesty, respect, and love. After I filed, Mark didn't move out right away. We agreed to stay in the same house for a few months for the kids. Worst decision of my life. He acted like nothing happened. Still went to the gym, still made dinner sometimes like we were just a normal family. Meanwhile, I was quietly collecting evidence, working with a lawyer, and going through therapy. I kept it together during the day for my kids, but I cried in the shower every night. Then came the twist I never saw coming. I got a call from a woman I didn't know. Her name was Heather. She asked me if I was still married to Mark. I said technically yes. She went quiet and then said, "He told me you two were separated a year ago." Heather wasn't Rachel. She was someone else. Heather had met Mark on a dating app. She had been seeing him for 6 months. She thought he was divorced and living alone. He even told her he had full custody of the kids because I ran off with someone else. She believed him because he only met her on weekdays during his gym nights. That's when it hit me. The gym was just an excuse. I asked Heather for proof. She sent me screenshots of their texts, photos of them together on a beach in Galveston, even a receipt from a fancy restaurant we used to go to on our anniversary. That's when I really broke. Mark wasn't just cheating with Rachel. He had been cheating with multiple women. While I was helping our daughter apply to college and taking care of our sick dog, he was out there pretending to be a divorced single dad. I confronted him again. This time, he didn't deny it. He just looked at me and said, "I was unhappy. You stopped being fun." I swear, I almost threw something at him. But I didn't. I just nodded and walked away. That night, I changed the locks. Up until this point, I had tried so hard to keep our kids out of it. I didn't want them to hate their dad. But they weren't dumb. My son, 17, overheard me on the phone with Heather. He asked me straight up if Dad had another woman. I sat both of them down and told them the truth. My daughter, 15, cried. My son went completely quiet. He didn't speak to Mark for a week. Mark tried to play the victim. He told the kids I had poisoned them against him, that I was trying to take everything he had. But it didn't work. They had seen enough by now to understand the truth. About 2 weeks later, Rachel showed up at our house. No warning, no text, just rang the bell and asked to speak to me. I didn't want to, but I was curious. So I stepped outside. Rachel was visibly shaken. She said she had broken up with Mark after she found out about Heather and another woman named Dana. I hadn't even heard of Dana yet. But that wasn't the part that hit me hardest. She said she might be pregnant with Mark's baby. I just stood there, blinking. I didn't even have words. Rachel said she wasn't sure yet, and she didn't want anything from me. She just thought I deserved to know. I nodded, thanked her for telling me, and walked back inside. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat on the couch and stared at the wall for what felt like an hour. A few days later, Mark lost his job. I don't know if it was the stress, his performance, or just bad timing, but once it happened, everything started to crumble around him. He begged to come back. He said he missed the old days, that he didn't know what he had until it was gone. He even showed up at my work one afternoon, crying. I didn't let him in. I told him to respect my space. I was done being the only one fighting for this family. He started calling friends, trying to get people on his side. But word had gotten out about his cheating. Even his own brother called me to apologize on his behalf. Now we're dealing with custody and splitting assets. Mark is trying to get joint custody, but my lawyer is good. We have the texts, the timeline, the hotel receipts. I'm not trying to keep the kids from him, but I want what's best for them. And I'll be honest, there are moments I still miss him. Or rather, I miss the version of him I thought was real. But that man's gone. Or maybe he never existed. This one hit hard. While I was deep into the divorce paperwork, my lawyer asked me for some specific mortgage documents. I went digging through our joint files, and that's when I saw something strange. The deed to our house, our home of 11 years, didn't have both of our names on it. Only Mark's. I remember sitting at the dining table, rereading the document 10 times. I called my lawyer and asked if that was normal. He paused and said, "You're not listed as a co-owner. Did you sign something at closing?" I couldn't remember. I was pregnant with our second at the time and exhausted. Mark had handled most of the paperwork. I trusted him. Later that week, my lawyer confirmed it. Mark had quietly refinanced the house 3 years ago and removed my name from the title, without telling me. I had been living in a home that legally wasn't mine, paying bills and repairs, raising our kids there, thinking it was our house. I confronted him. He shrugged and said it was easier for taxes and that I was being paranoid. Classic Mark. Remember how Rachel came to me saying she might be pregnant? Well, a few weeks later, I got a message from her again. She said we needed to talk. I ignored it at first. I was tired of the drama. But then she sent this message, "You don't know the whole story about Mark." I didn't either. "I think you'll want to hear this." So we met at a coffee shop in South Austin. Rachel was nervous, and I could tell she hadn't slept well. She leaned in and said, "I'm not pregnant." I lied, but it wasn't just to get attention. It was to get him to talk. She told me she suspected he was hiding something from her too, and when she said she might be pregnant, he freaked out, started pacing, sweating, saying things like, "This can't happen again, and I already dealt with this once." She pressed him. Eventually, he blurted out that he had another child. Not with me. With someone else. A woman named Brianna. He had been paying her off monthly to keep quiet. Rachel found this out, dumped him for good, and decided I deserved to know. This one made me sick. While preparing for court, my lawyer requested Mark's travel expense reports. He was in sales and claimed to travel often. I always thought his weekend work trips were legit. Turns out, many of them were faked. He used his company credit card to book hotels and flights, then canceled them and kept the travel reimbursement. He had been pocketing the money to fund his vacations with his other lives. One of the hotels he stayed at in Denver? He actually took Dana there on a ski trip. She posted photos of the trip online and tagged the wrong location, which was how my lawyer's assistant caught the lie. His company found out during the audit. That's why he got fired. Not stress. Not downsizing. Fraud. Okay, this part is recent and honestly has me rattled. Last week, I came home from the grocery store and noticed a black SUV parked down the block. Didn't think much of it at first, but then it showed up again the next day. Same car, same spot. On the third day, I walked outside and started taking pictures of the car. It drove off immediately. My neighbor, who's retired and watches everything, came over that night and said she'd seen the same car parked there at least 4 times over the past 2 weeks. Always during the day. Always facing my house. I called the police and filed a report, but they said unless there's a clear threat, there's not much they can do. I had security cameras installed the next day. Now I don't know if it's Mark or someone connected to one of his girlfriends, or something else entirely. But I'm watching my back now. When I first wrote about Mark cheating, I never imagined it would lead to all of this. The secret vacations, the lies, the multiple women, the mystery child, and even someone watching my house. But all of it came crashing down in one single day. And I need to share what happened. So, here's how it all exploded. Our court date was finally set. It was a Saturday morning mediation session because the judge believed we might resolve custody without going full trial. My lawyer, Mark's lawyer, and a mediator were all there. We were in this small, tense conference room at a law office in downtown Austin. I had already submitted all the evidence, screenshots, travel receipts, proof of the hidden child, proof of the fake business expenses. I didn't think Mark would deny any of it. But he did. He sat there with his lawyer and said I was inventing a story to destroy his character. He called Rachel a liar. Said the other women were crazy and stalkers. He denied everything. That's when the door opened. And in walked Brianna. She had been sitting in the hallway the whole time, waiting for a signal from my lawyer. She walked right in, calm as ever, holding a manila folder. She looked Mark dead in the eye and said, "Tell them who Liam is." The room went quiet. Mark looked like he'd swallowed a rock. He didn't speak. So she opened the folder and laid out Liam's birth certificate, paternity test results, and photos of Mark holding the baby. "You've been paying me under the table for 3 years, and I've kept quiet. But when I found out you were doing this to her too," she pointed at me, "I realized you didn't deserve my silence." Mark exploded. He started yelling, his face bright red, claiming this was an ambush and that this isn't legal. His lawyer tried to calm him down, but it was no use. He knocked over his chair and stormed out of the room. After Mark left, I just sat there. My hands were shaking. My lawyer touched my arm and asked if I wanted to take a break. I said no. I wanted to finish. Brianna and I spoke privately after that. She apologized to me, said she didn't know Mark was married at first, and by the time she found out, she was pregnant. He promised he was going to leave me and start a new life with her. He said he couldn't yet because of the kids. She believed him. Just like I had. Later that night, Mark came to the house. Yes, my house. He hadn't lived there in months. But he stood on the porch, looking like a ghost of himself. No car. No suitcase. Just a man who had finally run out of lies. I stepped outside. He said, "I lost everything." I said, "You did that to yourself." He sat on the steps, crying into his hands like a child. For a moment, I felt sorry for him. Not because I still loved him, but because it was the first time he finally looked like he understood what he had done. Our son came to the door, saw his dad crying, and turned right back into the house. That's when Mark really broke. The custody ruling came down 2 weeks later. I got full custody. Mark would get supervised visits, something even his own lawyer had quietly agreed to by the end. The judge cited emotional instability, deception, and lack of consistent income after he lost his job due to the fraud allegations. He tried to appeal, but it didn't go anywhere. Rachel never contacted me again. Heather and Dana both blocked Mark and moved on. Brianna and I stayed in touch for a while, if only to coordinate things around Liam in case he ever reaches out to his half-siblings someday. I sold the house a month after the court ruling. It was hard. Every corner of that place had memories. Our kids' first steps. Late-night family movie marathons. Burnt Thanksgiving turkeys. Arguments and makeups. But it was time to let go. It's been 6 months now. I've moved into a smaller place. Still in Austin. I work part-time, and I'm back in school to finish a degree I put off years ago. My daughter is thriving. My son, while quieter now, has found strength in therapy and opened up to me in ways he never did before. Sometimes people ask me if I'd ever take Mark back. The answer is no. Not because of pride. Not because of anger. But because some things, once broken, can't be repaired. I don't hate him, but I see him clearly now. I see what he is capable of hiding, even from himself. Here's what I learned. Betrayal doesn't always come with warning signs. Sometimes it grows slowly, like rust under paint. You don't see it until everything falls apart. But I also learned this. You can survive it. You can come out of the fire different, scarred, yes, but stronger than you were before. This isn't the story I wanted. But it's mine, and I'm still writing the next chapter.